Hello, Solar Empire. I'm doing a bunch of crappy videos that I'll possibly edit, for pacing, timing, or, other concerns later on, once I don't suck at this. But I'm going to have something just up for now. What is a Solar Empire? I have asked way more often than I should. Why? It is every, speck of dirt, gas, even the lint sphere that surround her, that star, that I'm referring to as Sol, what you call the sun every day. Everything that orbits it. I shall conquer! And yes, I'm going through minor setbacks in that I'm kind of homeless. I'm in a park bench right now. I don't sleep in this park bench because it's patrolled regularly every night for, people say, you can't sleep here because it doesn't look nice. Speaking of not looking nice, I'm going to talk about the Game Boy Advanced Fire Emblem games and my thoughts on them. Now, when you talk about the Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem games, the original creator had left the series. And there is immediately a lot of sort of people that right away is like, oh no, is it going to be just good? Is it going to be bad? And it's understandable for those reasons. Because when the original creator, there is a chance it might not be as good. Like what happened with the Earthworm Jim games. Exactly what happened with Earthworm Jim games. Or like what happened with that one Monkey Island game that never existed. Escape from Monkey Island never happened. Never. So it's if you don't really consult the original creators properly, there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to do it decently enough. Now sometimes it might work, and with the Fire Emblem Game Boy games, it kind of did. But the issue is that's where they kind of started flanderizing, in that they started having villains that were evil for the sake of evil. Not so much initially right away, they're trying to do them up as characters that were plausible and get behindable. But even then, it's not the same as drug drill games. It's kind of like the sort of Maltalia games or whatever for the NES, but it drifted, and it's, by the time we get to, Fire Emblem Awakening, it's hard to say that, they're legitimate characters, where Valdor, I've started just, having him wanting to have sex with Chrome in my sort of fan interpretation of it, which is supposed to be initially terrible, but it's to the point where it's you've gone away from the original thing and you think you're still there, but the whole sort of light good, dark bad that's kind of shown with the new one is where did that start? It started in the Game Boy games, and part of the thing was with the Game Boy games is the game developers start realizing that we need to have these games able to be sold outside Japan for them to actually do well. Because people think of Japan as this huge technological techno place of technology. But that's just a single neighborhood in one of the cities. A single block, a space the size of Times Square. The rest of Japan looks like Wisconsin. That's what Japan looks like for the most part. People think it's a super technology place of technology. A cyberpunk's wet dream or whatnot. But no, most of it looks like Wisconsin. Which is a cyberpunk's general sort of reality. Ironically. And so around the Game Boy games, they started tailoring it for Western audiences. And to the point where they actually include a lot of unnecessary tutorial stuff in the game with Roy in it. Well, one of the two games with Roy in it, but the one we can actually control. And it's... a lot of the game was designed, okay, we're going to have this release in Western public, but ultimately that ended up having it messed up, because it's Sealing Sword is one of the weakest entries. It's Fire Emblem, so most entries are going to be pretty decent. Essentially the satellite games are honestly the actual weakest ones, but they're fun to play and they're hard to track down, and there's some sunk cost effort into getting them. That's kind of the selling point for why people would like those. But it's they've kind of lost what's going on about it since then. I haven't played the Game Boy and Wii games, the mercenary ones or whatever I want to call those ones, because I haven't played them yet, so I don't know what I want to call them. And at this point, it's probably going to be based upon emulation or whatnot, or some way to make it work alike on some system, or virtual machine compilation at moment thing. Similar to how, Mono or .NET, or I think it's called CLR VM sort of mindset, or Parrot, or JVM works. But with the PPC chipset code set being handled into either ARM or because I don't think emulation is the proper thing anymore. I think we should be working on compiling in real time with working heart libraries to facilitate this sort of thing with like similar things to interrupts and like that. So I still have to play those ones, but I don't know. The Game Boy ones are kind of good, but at the same time, they're also the easier ones. And I mean, keep in mind the NES and Super Famicom ones are still figuring out a lot of stuff, and I think it's what happened was they started figuring out the stuff, but then they started getting rid of the stuff that they thought they didn't need, but kind of needed, and yeah. So that's my thoughts on the Game Boy ones. They're fun to play. They're great to play, but especially now that like they're adding casual mode for filthy casuals, and that they have Phoenix mode in Fates, which I think is just hilarious at this point. Because I think they're just mocking people at this point. What? Casual mode in Awakening wasn't enough for you filthy casuals? Here's Phoenix mode. For the filthy casuals who think it's a filthy casual thing. Yeah, filthy casuals. Yeah, and I bet your waifu is shitty too. Yeah, you got a trash waifu. And senpai will never notice you. Until you get good. Oh well, I'm sucking at these camera angles and things. I'll probably have to reshoot this in the special edition ones. Anyways, I've gone over my ideas of... I've got other videos where I got the ideas of my fates. I'm going to be editing a annotation once I figure that out. Where my ideas on Drug Rail, my ideas on Altalia, and I'm also going to be doing my ideas on what would be happening for if there's another Advanced Wars game. As ultimately, that's probably a more accurate name than Nintendo Wars at this point. Solar Empire, out, because I'm going to film another video, so not really, but yeah.